Good morning, guys. We're going to talk about how to find the area of triangles and trapezoids. Last week we left off with finding the area of parallelograms, which was just base times height. So base times height is going to be used in both of these formulas. So remember, base is the bottom of the shape, so what you guys are used to calling length, and then the height is what you're used to calling width. But we're not going to use length and width anymore. It's going to strictly be base and height. So this was the parallelogram that we talked about last week. So the height is not a slanted, but a straight line from the literal top of the shape to the bottom of the shape. So the height could be right there. It could be here, it could be here. So any of those spaces are going to be the height, so just the distance from the bottom to the top, never a slanted line. So this visual is here to show you that when you're finding the area of a parallelogram, it's just base times height. But if you break a parallelogram in half with a diagonal line, you will notice that it makes two triangles. So you can put any two triangles together and they will make a parallelogram. So if I'm dividing a parallelogram in half to make two triangles, my formula for finding the area of a triangle is going to be just that. It's going to be base times height, which is like a parallelogram, but I'm going to then multiply it by 1/2. Multiplying by a half is the same thing as dividing by 2. So if I have base times height times 1/2 or times 1/2, I could also write this formula as base times height divided by 2. Either way you want to think about it, I'm going to kind of show you both ways in the first example that we do. So triangles first. Looking at this example, it's again 1/2 times base times height. So I have the base of a triangle is 10 and the height is 6.5. So I plugged it in over here already. So I have 1/2 times 10 times 6.5. And then I'm going to multiply. So remember, with multiplication, you can do it in kind of any order. So the easiest way for me to go about this, if I have 1/2 times 10 and I know that multiplying 1/2 is the same thing as dividing by 2, I can easily divide 10 by 2 and get that answer. So if I automatically know 1/2 times whatever that first number is, I would just do that first. Had I written this the other way and done 1/2 times 6.5 times 10, I don't know what 1/2 of 6.5 is off the top of my head. So I would have multiplied 6.5 times 10 first and then gone back and done times 1/2. So that's just where I would start, is if I know it first. So to show you, remember when you are multiplying by fraction, so if I have a whole 10, I can make it a fraction by putting a 1 under it. And then multiplying by fractions is just multiplying the two numerators and the two denominators. So 1 times 10 is 10, and then 1 times 2 is 2, and I have 10 over 2, which can simplify to 5. So when I'm doing this, that is the reason why multiplying by 1/2 is the same thing as dividing by 2. 10 times 1/2 is 2. 10 10 times 1/2 is 5. And then 10 divided by 2 is also 5. So whichever way you want to think about it. So this first part is going to be 5. And then I have 5 times 6.5. So I'm going to come over here and do that. So I have 6.5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Then 6 times 5 is 30. Plus 2 is 32. I had one number, so don't forget your decimal. I had one number behind my decimal point, so I have one number behind my decimal point there. So my area is equal to 32.5 meters, and then area is always squared. Okay, so you could have done this the same way as doing 10 times 6.5 divided by 2, 10 times 6.5 if you want to multiply it out and get 6.5. So 6 times 5 is 0, 5 times 1 is 5, then bring down another 0. 6 times 0 is 0, so then 6 times 1 is 6. Then I add them and get 65. I know that's going into the other number, so or it's really just moving the decimal. So it's 65 divided by 2, which would also give you 32.5. So either way, multiplying by half or dividing by 2. Okay. Then I have finding the area of a trapezoid, and this one is a little bit more complicated. So I would definitely write these formulas down when you go through your homework of what is the area of a triangle, what is the area of a trapezoid, and make sure you are plugging in the correct things. So a trapezoid, remember, has a top and a bottom that are parallel, and then the two sides are not parallel. So meaning that if they continue, they would both run into each other. So this is the formula for a trapezoid, is 1/2 times height, and then times, and then specifically in parentheses, base 1 plus base 2. So base 1 plus base 2 is this, just the top of the shape and the bottom of the shape. So PEMDAS is important to remember here. So remember that you need to solve what is in the parentheses first. So before you multiply anything, you need to add the two bases together. Then you can multiply by height, and then by 1/2, or 1/2 times height, and then times those two added together. So we're going to look at that on the next slide. So again, my formula was 1/2 times height times, and then in parentheses, base 1 plus base 2. So for right this second, all I'm going to do is fill in. So I have 1/2 is going to stay the same. My height is right here, is 7. And then I have base 1 plus base 2. So I have 5 plus 12. Okay. So then I'm going to solve this. I need to do PEMDAS, so parentheses is first. So 5 plus 12 gives me 17. So now I have 1/2 times 7 times 17. So since I don't know 1/2 times 7 off the top of my head, I mean, you can know it off the top of your head, but then you're working with a decimal, so up to you. If you want to, 7.5 is 3.5, and then you would multiply and then get your answer. Or you could do 17 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 4 is 11. So this would give you 119, and then you would have that times 1/2. So either way, you're dividing 119 divided by 2, or multiplying 17 times 3.5. So if we do 17 times 3.5, 5 times 7 is 35, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. And I'm going to add my 0. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So I would get 5 plus 0 is 5, 8 plus 1 is 9, and then I have 5, and then my decimal point. So I would get 59.5, and then it's in inches, and then squared. Or if you divide 119 by 2, 2 goes into 11 5 times, which gives you 10. Subtract and get 1, and then 2 goes into 19. 9 times 2 is 18. Subtract and get 1, and add a decimal and a 0. Then 2 goes into 10 5 times, and then you're done. So you get 59.5 as well. So your area of a trapezoid is equal to 59.5 inches squared. So just make sure you guys are adding the two bases together first, and then you can multiply in whatever order you need to do so it makes sense to you. So just remember, multiplying by 1/2 is the same thing as dividing by 2. Okay, so if you have questions, please reach out to me while you're doing your homework. Don't stress with your homework. Ask me now, sooner than later. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.